Hmm. Welcome everyone. Hmm. Mhm. Yeah, it's been a very peaceful day, so I'm just feeling pretty peaceful at the moment. So just really enjoying that. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's some sort of letting go has been happening. I think for me, I was sharing actually, I've shared with a few people, it's really funny that it's like we don't realise that we have a guard up until the guard gets dropped. And then it feels very, very heavy, and it's like I felt like these last few days that something's like started to soften inside. And as I shared with my friends, normally what happens when that happens is the ego rears up even more. It doesn't like me softening. I think it feels like it's the end of the ego. So it normally wants to rear its head, particularly when I become very defenseless. And that's been my prayer for the week, really. And this is just like the beautiful thing about what we do is really, it wasn't kind of at the forefront of my mind. It was just a prayer at the start of the week, and then this is the sort of prayer, the fruits of the prayer. And now I can't even remember how it began, but I don't know whether you know, but we do a movie poll on Facebook, and we have all different themes and blocks to love's presence that you can vote upon. And so we pray upon that here. And one that I brought forward was being defenseless. And so I voted for that, and that was pretty much the extent of my prayer, seemingly. And it's like everything's always working in the background to support the prayer. So I hadn't really been aware of it, but now I'm just feeling this sort of softening that's come along, and then everything was there just to support my mind in that, really, all week. And it's like what I've noticed is I didn't realise how much of a mask was up until this softening happened. It's like some sort of heaviness has just gently dissipated. So that's been really rewarding. Yeah, I think we've been expressing here, and I'm quite happy for people to project onto me, because I like to see what it is that is in my mind, so I encourage it. And I think, I can't remember now, but I'm remembering some of it, but I remember there was some things that were said seemingly about me, and it was just like that was where the prayer come from. Is, yeah, I just want to be completely and utterly defenseless. Because, you know, it seems like it takes a lot to be defenseless, particularly in a world that doesn't encourage defenselessness. In fact, it encourages the opposite. And it's not really a word that is used a lot, you know, to be defenseless. And it's something that we're learning through the mind training. It's the fruits of the mind training to be defenseless. That's what we're practicing. It's a practice in itself, really. And I think it's a very important practice for me, definitely. I always sort of erred on the side of being outwardly aggressive. Of course, that's just a protection. That's through fear. That's to keep myself safe, you know, that's how I interacted with the world. And that was it, it's coming back to me now. It was like, what I wanted to do, I think how this softening started to happen was that I just wanted to see the fear. I just didn't want to be putting up the mask of that I'm okay, even though I might be feeling fear. And so that was my inner prayer, was just to experience the fear, to not try and move away from it with defense mechanisms of ego strength, but just feeling the feelings. And really, I didn't actually have any specifics as to why I felt fearful, but I could just, once I sort of agreed to just allow fear to come up, I noticed it a lot in my body, seemingly, symptoms of fear. And my body was shaking a bit, seemingly internally. And I thought, wow, this is very, very interesting, because probably I've just been covering this up through trying to be strong, you know, particularly sort of male, the idea of being a man, an idea of being a male, an idea of having to uphold something. There's this sort of strength that seemingly, if you're on the male side, you're supposed to have. I know that, you know, there's many different sort of facets to the ego's corruption. And so, of course, there's that program there, and defenselessness is completely and utterly opposite of manliness, seemingly, in what my curriculum was, or is. And equally, you know, don't show fear. Don't allow yourself to experience fear, even though A Course in Miracles points out that that is the two, there are only two emotions, love and fear. And then there's just a breakout of seeming split different emotions that we've named over the time, but ultimately any other emotion other than love is fear. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that we are in a lot of fear a lot of the time. Fear and guilt that we're doing something wrong. And so it's just important to allow ourselves to feel that. So maybe that can be a prayer, just to allow yourself just to experience some of this fear, because what you'll see it's nothing really. And equally, you can have some insight and to see what you've been maybe running away from. And that's what I saw this week actually, is just experiencing this fear. And sometimes it's just even just to being around others, just not knowing how to be around others, finding it more comfortable to be on my own, for instance. And then noticing feelings are coming up of maybe nervousness or whatever inside, but in actual fact, just allowing it to come up further, could see it was more fear. And then just sitting with it and not actually even analysing it. I didn't even ask what is the fear all about. I just, okay, this is what appears to be there. And I'm just going to sit with the feelings. And I remember actually is that I was actually on my own and I was just experiencing this fear. And it was like anxiousness and nervousness all wrapped up into one. And it was like the trigger was, oh no, not this again. Not these feelings again. And so I thought, I must have been trying to manage how I've been feeling. But I thought, no, I don't care how this is going to come up. It just needs to come up. So I just sat with it. In actual fact, it just literally dissipated in moments. There was nothing really going on. And I woke up in the morning and I was just sitting there meditating early in the morning. And it was really quiet. It was a really, really, really nice time. And I was just sitting there but I wasn't feeling completely and utterly happy. I wasn't completely and utterly joyful. And so I said, just put out a prayer, is there something that that maybe can help? And I got the answer. He said, yeah. He said, lesson 196. And that's one of my favourite lessons. And it's, it can be but myself I crucify. And I thought, oh wow, what a perfect lesson. You know, you're doing it to yourself. That's really, that's really the only lesson that we've got to learn. You're doing it to yourself. And in that lesson, he says, if you can get this wholeheartedly, then that's just a massive chunk of your issues gone. You know, that's a massive step on the way to salvation, to see that you're just doing it to yourself. And once you see completely that you're doing it to yourself, you'll actually stop doing it. Maybe I'll read a little bit, the first part of that lesson. See where it is. There it is. 197. It can be but... Oh, no, sorry, that's wrong. It is 196. It can be but myself I crucify. When this is firmly understood and kept in full awareness, you will not attempt to harm yourself, nor make your body slave to vengeance. You will not attack yourself, and you will realize that to attack another is but to attack yourself. You will be free of the insane belief that to attack a brother saves yourself. and you will understand his safety is your own, and in his healing you are healed. So yeah, that's just the big projection. It's just, if we feel uncomfortable, we just want to let it out. And in actual fact, it's been kind of funny. I've had some calls with some friends, and they've been letting up how they've been really feeling, and it hasn't been coming out not always in the best possible ways, seemingly. Bit of anger, bit of aggression coming up, and it's like, God, why did I say those things? It's like, wow, that's what needed to happen. That's what we need to see it for what it is. It's not that anything's going wrong. The ego's going to judge it as, yeah, you could have done something differently. But ultimately, that then becomes the gift when we really, really share authentically how we feel. It might seem like an attack. And as he just stated in that, you're only ever attacking yourself. But it's like good to see that, really. It's good to see that, okay, I'm actually doing it to myself. You know, that's what he talks about in chapter 27. The hero of the dream. And he says in there, he's got a little statement for us. And he says you can use this statement all of the time. And the statement is, I am doing this unto myself, and it is this that I would undo. So he's saying the same thing throughout the book many, many times. And it's just the ones that really, really resonate with us. But that particular lesson really, really resonated with me. In the beginning, it actually, the first time I did it, it really touched my heart. It can be but myself. I crucify. And I thought, yeah, that's what I've been doing all my life. I'm just crucifying myself. I'm just making myself wrong. And we can actually allow all of that to drop away. And so now that just literally becomes our practice. And including, you know, thinking it's kind of so ingrained. That's right, that's how I was sharing with my friends here, that it just seems so normal that if you're attacked seemingly by the outside, the best thing to do is to attack back or to defend yourself from the attack. And it just seems so reasonable in this world. It is reasonable, it is logical in the ego's thought system to just push it away. You've attacked me, so I'm going to attack you. And that's been a very big ingrained lesson in my mind. And in actual fact, we've just finished the online retreat last weekend, the required course online retreat. And in that, I was lucky enough to show a movie with Marina, and we showed, what was it called? What's his name? Happiness. What was that movie, Andy? I can't remember now. Hector's Search for Happiness. That was it. We watched Hector's Search for Happiness. And in that, there's a really, really beautiful scene that really, really helped me. Hector is a psychiatrist, and he's searching for happiness. Because he feels like he's failing his clients, he feels like he's failing himself, he feels like he's failing his relationship, and he's got a few things that that he hasn't addressed. For instance, there was an old flame, there was an old girlfriend from university that he still wants to see whether there's a connection there, and it feels like some unfinished business. So he's got some things in his mind and he's with this girl. He does really like her, but he's sort of got half of his thoughts on this other girl, and equally he's not completely and utterly joyous. So he feels like a bit of a fraud to his patients, and so he feels like he needs to be more authentic, and he needs to find this joy within inside of himself to be able to better his clients and to better his relationships. And so he goes on this search, and he goes to China, he goes to Africa, and he goes to Los Angeles, until eventually he returns to London. But on the journey, when he's in Africa, this was the scene that really touched me. And in actual fact, now it's all coming back to me. This is how I got in touch with the defenselessness. Because there's this one scene with a guy called Diego. And he goes into the bar. And he's at the bar, and he orders a drink. And this guy, Diego's there. And he asks him who he is. And this Diego pulls out a note, he pulls out money, a note, and on the note is Diego's face. And he's like he seems like a little bit of a crook, a villain sort of thing. He's obviously been up to no good. This is the type of character that he's playing. And he's very sort of sarcastic as well. So he's basically asking Hector, okay, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I've just come to help out in a friend's surgery where they're helping children, all kinds of, I think it was just children actually, giving them medication and things. And he said, well, what's in it for you? And he's like, well, nothing, I've just come to help. And this Diego can't understand about someone wanting to help. There must be something in it for him. And he's a very, very hostile character. And what happens is that as Hector's asked him about happiness, he finds out that Diego's not happy because his wife is on medication. She's depressed, and this has actually made her worse. It's not made her better. And so Hector basically asked to help. And again, it's like, what's in it for you? And he gets very hostile and actually puts him over the bar in a very awkward position. And Hector still stays very, very defenseless in it. And he's just like, why would I want your wife to suffer, you know? Surely it's about helping someone. If I can relieve someone's suffering, then that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to prolong suffering. I think that's what he says. So he said, so this Diego's been extremely hostile to him, including violent and grabbing hold of him. First of all, he thought he had a wire on him. That's right. He thought he was recording for some sort of news station or whatever. He finds out that he hasn't got a wire on him. And then the next minute he starts like quizzing him about happiness, and he puts him over the bar again. But Hector doesn't let this get in his way. He just still continues to be helpful. And he just finds out about his wife and says, hey, listen, why don't you just send me through the medication? Because maybe what she's taking isn't so good for her. And he's sort of like very resistant to it because he's distrusting. And that's when Hector says, listen, I wouldn't want anyone to suffer. If I can help prolong suffering, then that's what I'd like to do. So Diego actually rings him up and tells him what his wife's on, the medication, after they leave one another. And Hector explains that that medication isn't very good together, and maybe she would be better off on these drugs. They meet up again, and he makes a prescription for him, and he knows someone in the area that would be able to get the medication to him. And gives him the prescription. And so something inside of me really, really touched me, because I just thought, wow, I don't know how I'd have reacted in that situation, because this guy's been extremely hostile, and it's just like, well, what are you going to do? You know, you just don't want this person in your life. That would be a sort of normal reaction. But yet, that wasn't Hector's approach to it. He still just genuinely wanted to help. And what came about through that was actually a miracle. And I think what I also learned from that was you can never ever discount anything that happens, that maybe it looks difficult. It looks like a difficult situation, and it was a difficult situation. And yet, Hector stayed in his miracle working function. And in actual fact, what happened is Diego actually saved his life, because Hector got taken prisoner by some sort of guerrillas in Africa, some militant guerrilla type, and he had a pen with Diego's name on it, and the guys wanted proof that he was friends with Diego, and he had this gold pen which actually saved his life. So in knowing this guy who was pretty hostile, actually became a miracle. And so this is what actually started me off on this defenselessness over the week, actually, of seeing in my mind, yeah, I'm so trained, you attack me, I'm going to attack you. And I think that was a prayer just to keep watching that. And so that's why I brought up that defenselessness, to want to be defenseless. And now it just feels like this whole week has just been that really settling down. And just that mask just dropping. And so moving on to last night, actually, we watched the movie Risen, which was like, oh, wow, what a perfect movie for exactly what we're talking about. And in that movie, we have the character Clavius, who is a Roman soldier and who's been very, very violent. And so but really what I love about it is he had the same prayer as me, actually, is he sits in the Roman baths with his commander, and the commander basically says, what is this journey all about for you? What would you like? And it boils down to what he really wants is he wants a day without blood spilt on his hands, and he just wants peace. That's all he wants. He just wants peace. And I think probably that's how A Course in Miracles came into all of our lives. Probably somewhere inside of us, we've all been praying for peace. As our lives have unfolded, it's like, wow, I really need some peace in my life. That would be a nice thing. And this was Clavius's prayer. And once he makes that prayer, everything starts to unfold to support his prayer for peace and to see the truth. And yeah, this is one of them movies that really, really touches me, because, you know, he's very, very defensive. He's aggressive. He's a soldier. You know, as part of his job, that's what you do if you're a soldier. That's the role you take on. But deep down inside, there's something much deeper, and it's like he's killed so many people that he's just completely and utterly immune to it. You know, that's what sort of, yeah, people don't understand about sort of violence. Is it's like, well, why do you keep doing it? And it just becomes as easy as making a cup of tea, really. It doesn't really affect you like it would affect someone else. It's a very, very deep thing. We just seem to numb out from it. And that's what Clavius has done. He's just numbed himself out. And he's just doing whatever his commander tells him to do. And he just wants out. He just wants out of it. He just wants his peace. He wants to go back to Rome with his wife and to have children and just live a peaceful life. But yet he has all this blood spilt on his hands. And so how on earth is he going to get out of this? How is he going to get through all of this? Through all of this conditioning? He needs miracles. He needs major miracles to help. And, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because we think, how on earth did I get on this journey? Like, I knew nothing about miracles until 5 years ago. And here we are, and that's all I want to talk about is miracles. So he needs a major miracle, but he's got this. There's still this aggression, there's this violence and everything inside of him. He's completely and utterly conditioned. So something's got to give, and that's why I named this the lowering of the sword, because I thought that was the really sort of beautiful scenes in this movie. And it's actually funny that in A Course in Miracles, if you type in sword, you'll actually find Jesus uses that, the metaphor of a sword, in many chapters. So maybe that could be something that could be enjoyable, just to see how he uses that, uses the metaphor of a sword. But there's just the beautiful scene where basically, I'll just cut it short, that he saw Jesus crucified, and he ordered the spear to go up into the lungs and through the heart to end Jesus' life on the cross, to get it over and done with, because the crowd are going mad. And so let's just get this over and done with. So we all kind of know the story. The disciples take the body gets buried in the tomb, and the rolling of the stone, and Jesus completely and utterly resurrects. And that's what they didn't want. But of course, Clavius cannot believe that. It's just that's absolutely impossible. And for all of us, we can say, well, that sounds pretty impossible. I mean, if you live in India, reincarnation, resurrection is kind of everyday life. In some parts, it's talked about frequently. So if you're in that type of culture, it's like, oh yeah, of course it's real. You're brought up with that being real. But in the more of the Western culture, we don't really believe that people come back from the dead and resurrect like that. And so he needs a massive convincing that there's more to this life. And so next minute he's interviewing people, and he finds out that, yep, they've been, people are saying he's actually resurrected and he's back. And this is the last thing they need. And finally it comes down to that they actually find where the disciples are, and the possibility of this alive Jesus. And so all the Roman soldiers go running down there, and it's one of my most beautiful scenes, really. David shared it last night. It just, I don't know, it's so touching that he's like ready to go with his sword and everything, and he undoes the door to where they all are, and here he is, he's ready for battle to bring Jesus in if he's resurrected or whatever. Not that he believes that to be true at this point. And then as he undoes the door, he sees all the disciples there, and they're sat there with Jesus. In his face, he's just like, he just cannot believe that he's seeing the risen body. And so his sword was up, because he undone the door with his sword, so his sword was out. And then as he's looking at Jesus, his like arms are just like dropping down. He's just becoming defenseless. And then his sword is like right down by the side of him. And then he literally drops the sword. And Jesus says, come in, Clavius. There's no enemies here. And Clavius is fearful to go near him, but he sits on the side and he's just staring at him. And he just cannot believe that he's seen. And then the flashbacks come, and he sees Jesus on the cross, the wound that goes up into the side through the lungs and the heart, and the face is seemingly dead. There's no life. And now he's seeing life within a seeming body. And it was just like the wake-up call. That's all of our wake-up call, isn't it? It didn't happen 2,000 years ago. It's like, you are that resurrection. You are that. It's not, I'm not talking about something separate. Jesus never meant this to be something separate. That's where the whole issue came in. To believe that it happened in time and in space. It's like, it's for us to take back into the mind so we can completely and utterly resurrect ourselves. And that's one of the, actually, that's one of the sad things about the translation of the Bible, because one of the major, what would you say, miswordings in the Bible is throughout the whole book and throughout most movies, they say, Jesus said, follow me. And they say, in actual fact, in Hebrew, that is not a very good translation. What is a better translation is be me. So if ever you like to read the Bible or you want to listen to these things, each time they say follow me, put to yourself, remember to yourself, the actual original Hebrew is be me. And that just changes the whole thing. And basically the actual teaching is exactly the same as the course, is that you are me. There is nothing different between us. That you can completely resurrect, and it already has happened. And so now Clavius has actually seen it with his own eyes. He's seen that, and I thought that was beautiful of the lowering of the sword and then the dropping of the sword. And he just cannot be the same any longer. And I think actually for us, it's like, I think Clavius is a beautiful, beautiful representation that's something that we can take into our mind. And this is what I do. And I think about it, and I think about it from the story's perspective, is if a Roman soldier who is completely and utterly conditioned to kill, to hate, to create suffering, to murder, to do things that he necessarily doesn't want to do, but he's been ordered to do it. So he seemingly has all of this guilt, and in worldly terms we would say, yeah, that's a pretty bad life, a barbaric life that someone's led. And then to be able to fully forgive that and to lower his sword is just like such a beautiful metaphor in my heart. And it's like, yeah, we all have our stories. We all have our meaningless stories, let's get it right, that we want to hold on to. But how I look at it is I think, wow, if Clavius can do it, then I can do it. I definitely haven't done as many things as he has been, a commander in the Roman army, slaughtering thousands. I haven't got that on my conscience. Yeah, I've got my things, don't get me wrong. We all have. We all seemingly have. Not that they're real. We're not trying to make anything real here. But it's like, for me, it just gives me that strength in my heart to say, wow, if he can do it, then I can do it. And it's like, we just need those miracles, don't we? And that's why we're here together in this so deeply, to say the miracle can transform all of that. You are one moment away from the miracle that is going to change everything. And that actually is the truth, you know, because as he says, it's an instant. There is no process to this. It's all completely and utterly made up. That the ego is making up a process. You are one miracle away from enlightenment. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just one instant and the whole game is going to be completely changed. And that instant can be now, now, now. It's just waiting. It's just there. It's just ready for the full revelation. The revelation is now. It's completely and utterly there. And it's just for us to accept that is true. So every morning we want to be waking up and be like, oh, okay, today's the day then. Today's the day of my mind completely and utterly changing, because it already has. It's not that far away. You know, that's what Jesus is teaching us. That's what the Course in Miracles is teaching us. It's like, you seemingly think that this is so far away, that it's in the future, but it's right underneath your nose. It's right in front of your very face. It's right in front of you now, that you have no concerns, you have no worries, you have no fears. Actually, Esther asked me this question, so I can actually ask it. She asked me, she said, what is it like to completely release everything? Basically, that was her question. Like, what is that like? And I have been blessed. Oh God, I feel so grateful for that. This experience came, so I can answer that for you, Esther. Is that, well, basically what happened is I ended up getting into this state. It was actually through dancing, funny enough. I was listening to music at a Course in Miracles event, and as I was listening to the music, I just got wrapped up into the experience, and it was like I was the music, I was everything, and it was just everything was completely and utterly vibrating at once, and it was just spilling out, and it was just getting larger and larger and larger and larger. It was like as if there was no separation, just like happening between me, and this energy was just rumbling, seemingly rumbling through my body. And this energy is coming up seemingly from the ground and coming all the way through my body, just coming up, and then it just came all the way out. And then at that moment of release, like I completely and utterly realised that I was not this character. The character was gone. There was no Kenneth. Kenneth was completely and utterly made up. There was no such thing. There was no pain. There was no suffering. There was no fear. There was nothing that I'd never done anything wrong. And it was all gone. It was all gone. And all it was is peace. And so she said, well, what is that like? And basically what happened was, when I realised that I was none of this, that it was all completely and utterly made up, I was just in a laughing fit for about an hour. Just laughing, but with this expansiveness was happening at the same time. And it was just everything. And I was just it was just so hilarious. I don't know why it was so funny, but it was just so funny. Like as if I've been told, like I've been tricked. I've been tricked into believing all of this. Like in a way, it's like a joke, isn't it? You get led along in a joke, and then all of a sudden the punchline comes in and you don't expect it. And that was exactly the same as what this is. It's like what you think you are is not. And then when it all drops away, it's so unexpected that it's just absolutely hilarious. And so that just ended up into a complete and utter laughing fit. And it was just so, oh God, what would be the word? Comforting. It was just, thank you, you know, for this wonderful gift, this beautiful gift that I have never ever suffered. I absolutely made up the whole thing. Oh dear. And that's the truth. That's the truth. You are making it all up. And that was the same as Clavius. He's just made it up. He's just making up a story about himself, and he's wound himself into quite a strong story, like what we all think we are. But it's so thin. This veil is so thin. And that dropped away pretty easily. It really didn't take much. A little bit of dancing, and boom, I was completely no more problems. And it's like, my God, wow. Okay, and that faded, and now there's more integration that's needed. But you know, that experience is still here and now. It's still absolutely available. When I'm ready again, this is the fruits of what we're doing. You know, my friend Andrea said to me today, and I'm so grateful for Andrea, because she is just so devoted to A Course in Miracles. And you know, she's only been studying it for 8 months, and she's given her whole heart to it. Every single day she's just given to it, and it's just beautiful to watch. And now finally she just said, wow, I'm just feeling different. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling happier. I actually finally feel that I've found a spiritual path whereby I'm getting somewhere. And of course, I'm not even advocating A Course in Miracles. That's what I do. Do what you like, you know. And if it suits you and you like what I've got to say, you like what others have got to say, then that's absolutely beautiful. That's wonderful. And Andrea is doing that. She's found her calling, and she's like, I've found what helps me in my heart. And it's just absolutely beautiful to be able to share these things with everyone, that it's real, it's true. It's absolutely true. That what you're reading in the book is what David's been saying for ages, is that understanding will come, and experience will come, and then understanding will come. You're not going to understand it first. You're going to have the experience, and then the understanding will come, and then that will end the doubting. And so everything in that book is just completely true. And as I always say, is, there's no point in getting caught up in the theory of it. It's just, if you read a statement like there is no world, for example, and you're thinking, wow, this just seems completely and utterly real, then just pray on it. Just pray on it every day. It's like, okay, I don't have to question it. I don't have to question the book. There is no world. Okay, then, I want to see that. Jesus, you're telling me I have got no problems. You're telling me that this need not be. You're telling me to choose once again. Okay, then, I clearly asked for it enough, and he showed me it. And now I can share that with you and say that as the absolute truth, that what you think you are is not real. It's absolutely not real. So your stories, that's why at times I don't listen to people's stories any longer. I'm like, listen, I'm not interested in your story. Tell me how you're doing right now, but I'm not interested in your story. Not because I'm trying to be harsh or anything. It's because it's not who you are. So why do I want to confirm that to myself? It's just, I don't need to know your story. Because that story can completely and utterly drop away. And that's what happened to Clavius. He's there, he's got this thick story of a Roman soldier. Now the next minute, his whole mind is completely and utterly blown apart by seeing a full resurrection, the resurrected body. And that's exactly what he needed then to go on in his life. And then he's walked away from the whole Roman army, and now he's going into his peace, and he walks off into the desert, into wherever he's going, away from all of the battle, beyond the battleground. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing for one another. This is what this time is all about. To say, actual fact, the war is over. The battle is over. So if a Roman soldier can walk away from it, then we certainly can. So we have no excuses to say, yeah, I'm done with this war. I don't need to defend myself any longer. I just want to accept the light. I accept the light. I accept the miracles. I accept the revelation. I accept the joy. I accept the peace. I accept the love. For that is what I am. Yeah, this need not be. We can let go of everything today. And we can feel that love. That's yours. so thank you so much as always for joining me. We'll let his strength carry us through the week. Know that he's always available. And I just remember what he says as a true statement. And he says, I said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And he says, and that means that you are the way, the truth, and the life. So that's just something very, very beautiful to remember. You are the way, the truth, and the life. So this week, when anything happens that's difficult, you can say, hold on a minute, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that's a true statement about yourself. Thank you so much. Many blessings and lots of love. And as always, let's expect miracles. Yeah. Love you all. Bye for now.